the commission adopted regulations that identify those as separate processes that are.
Myself first. I don't want you to go down a line that is not.
Okay.
I understand they're two different things. What I'm saying now is that I understand that there's information connected to one that can be implicated by the other process. And I'm wondering if we might avoid the conflict and the need to kind of talk in a coded language and not go into one process because we're separating the two. If we can join them, not join the different processes, but have them both on the agenda so that we can have a conversation about it in a way that's not so confusing.
Can I add to that in support of what
Roy.
you're saying? I want to be in support of Commissioner Concepcion. Do we have the ability as commissioners to add language to the motion that says upon completion of the remand and completion of the change of ownership, the commission shall consider both together at the same meeting? Do we have the ability as commissioners to add language as such to the motion? Is that what you're kind of saying, Commissioner Concepcion?
It is. It's like, why not make that the trigger?
Do we have the right as commissioners to add that language in the motion for the remand?
Yes, we do.
I'll let General Counsel answer and then I'll offer a comment. General Counsel or Director Potvin, or who would like to respond to that if you wish.
Yeah, sure. So, I think the question you're saying is, does the commission have the authority to do so? It can certainly craft a motion and support a motion in that regard. I think that there's considerations both in terms of, I think that there's interests, there's basically sort of this considerations of the staff being able to conduct those processes separately and in the time that they need to complete their review. And there's also considerations of a licensee having submitted an application and that application being ready for the commission's consideration. So it's, basically in pushing them together or merging them together, that has implications in terms of timing. That, for example, if there needs to be a delay due to in further acting on the application for final licensure due to the application for ownership and control not being completed, that creates some delay that is above and beyond what's regular in the process of considering the final license application. So in other words, you're kind of putting, one of the reasons why they're on separate tracks is because they are separate processes. And so there's an impact on both processes by trying to merge them together in terms of the timing. So.
Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Concepcion, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just feel like respectfully, this is not a normal situation. So to say that that's not what we normally do, I would hope that we don't have a situation like this again. But what we're saying is the remand is directly related to an evaluation of the ownership. That's what the remand is about. That was a statement. I guess I get respectfully, I understand what you're saying, our general counsel, I understand that. I also understand what our authority is as commissioners and the ability that we have right now and the way that we evaluate these applications and the way that we make decisions here during our public meetings. And I know that we do have the ability to do, if we need that time, I think, and you guys can add to this if you would like to, we have that authority to remand and get the information that we need in order to make a really a decision that's based off of all the facts and an information that's available to us.
Commissioner Camargo.
Thank you. I felt like I was trapped. I thought you couldn't see me waving my hand.
Yeah, I can see everybody, I think.
Okay. To Commissioner Concepcion's point and to, I think, Commissioner Roy, your sort of added language. General Counsel, I think, and you said a lot, but at the end of the day, I think what Commissioner Concepcion just said, it is our authority. We can ask for both at the same time. So I want to just be very clear of that. We can, right? Okay, I see you nodding your head. Thank you. So, Commissioner Concepcion, I know you had wanted to, I believe, sort of move on or make the motion, but I guess I just want to say this, I think for me, I think we remanded, and I think for me to be comfortable in making a final decision, I would like to see both, and we do have the right to see both at the same time.
I should clarify. My question was not if we had the right. My question was about the detriment, like what sort of. And I think you answered that to a certain extent, Christine. I was trying to figure out what are some of the implications that we may not be aware of or may not see right now,
Right.
in terms of doing that.
This is one of those, if I may, Chair, this is one of those situations where I have to exercise some care in terms of how I describe the concerns that would flow from that. So I don't want to do that in a context of a public meeting, because I think it puts the commission at risk. I think the commission gets my essential point is that, keeping the processes separate has a certain rationale to it, in terms of timing and in terms of a regular license application, and in terms of the ability of the staff to complete its review of a pending application in the regular course. Again, if the chair would like to recess, and I could speak to an individual commissioner or commissioners about some of those concerns, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, General Counsel. I'll come back to you in a second to follow up on that offer of yours, but I did see that the executive director had his hand up, and I want to recognize him.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and commissioners as well. And I think Commissioner Concepcion, this might be in response to the discussion and some of the observations that you've identified. I guess I'll offer my own 2 cents, which is that perhaps in remanding it, those two issues organically get merged anyway. The one caution I would offer as far as merging the 2 applications themselves is that as we know, applications, particularly as it pertains to changes of ownership, or they evolve, they have the ability to evolve based upon our due diligence review. So for instance, if an individual is attempting to come into a license, we conduct an evaluation on the suitability of that particular individual. And so I guess it's, again, I'm not disputing the ability of the commission to do that. It may be that these 2 things, when they, in a remand context, by remanding the final license, you're asking us to evaluate the ownership of that license today as it exists today, and knowing that a change of ownership is a prospective future action, that is a blessing from the commission to make such a change. So I think they're really perhaps two separate questions that are being asked of the staff. Again, it might be that they are returning to the commission with a comprehensive approach and solution to them, but I wouldn't want to preclude our ability to also manage them in separate tracks. So I don't want to confuse matters more. I really believe that I may have just in fact done that, but I hope that's an articulate way of describing the difference of how this may be approached in a further evaluation or review.
Okay. Commissioner Roy, I saw your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Stebbins. So I'm confused. I think we're conflating the issue. I don't think we're asking you to merge the 2 documents. We're not asking that. We're asking to bring them back before us on the same agenda. We're not asking to merge tracks or merge processes. We're asking we're having a hard time on this final license because we don't have all the information. So if you bring it back before us without the other piece of information, we're still going to have a hard time on this final license. So we don't want to merge. We just want both sets of information to go its normal process, but to bring them back in front of our consideration on the same agenda, because how can we have a different result if we're going to bring them back a final license when we don't have the other piece of information? So I don't mean to speak on behalf of all my fellow commissioners, but I feel that's what we're trying to say.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Camargo, did you want to add anything?
Commissioner Roy, thank you.
I want to add something to that, just because that's why we have such an awkward conversation today, is because we cannot have a full conversation. And that is exactly, thank you so much, Commissioner Roy. Exactly.
I want to return to the general counsel for a moment. General counsel, is there any interest on your part that there's information you need to share during any type of brief recess with any commissioner prior to us moving forward on this?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's some value to me talking to commissioners. Perhaps if I could talk to 2 commissioners together and the other 2 commissioners together, then I can provide a fuller view. I'm also happy to have Enforcement Counsel Lopez in those conversations if she wants to join me.
Okay, I would recommend that. I would ask the commission if they would be willing to take a half-hour recess so that general counsel can consult with commissioners, obviously, and no more than groups of 2. And do I have a motion for a half-hour recess so that we can allow the general counsel that opportunity?
Are you guys asking us or telling us this right now?
I think the general counsel would like to make herself available to raise some concerns or make any comments that she'd wish with commissioners, again, as our counsel, as the commissioners' counsel, and do that during a brief recess. Is there a motion to recess for 30 minutes? The executive director?
I just wanted to clarify, I actually really appreciated Commissioner Roy's context. That was helpful for me. So I understand the question that is being posed. And therefore, I guess the motion that would be reflective of that.
Thank you for saying that, Sean, because I feel like we're all on somewhat on the same page, but I understand also in respect to general counsel, I understand what the situation is here, but I think as commissioners, we have the authority right now to sort of put a motion on the table to remand this. But I also want to respect our general counsel, and I'm happy to do that. But I also just want to make it clear that we do have the authority as commissioners to do as we sort of think we need to do, and what Commissioner Roy said. So.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I feel as if the commissioners feel as if they have adequate information to do so. The chair asked if there was information that I am able and would like to share to say that, which is what I did. What if commissioners don't want to feel as though they have enough information to act at this point in time, of course, you have the authority to go forward.
And general counsel, I just want to thank you because I know that this is we're in a situation, right? So we're trying to make sure that we have everything we need, and you've done your job, you've done your due diligence behind the scenes here in public meeting, and I really appreciate it. This is the law. There's a lot of code, there's a lot of regs, there's 2 sets of ethics here, so I get it, and I appreciate you for it. So I think that we also have somewhat of a clear path right now as well. So.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. Obviously, I've shared with you some draft language for a motion. I'm happy to repeat it. If anybody wishes to amend it, you're welcome to do that. Okay. Again, the language is move to remand the application for final license for Greenfield Greenery MC 283117 to the Commission's investigations and enforcement staff for further evaluation and consideration relative to ownership and control as defined in 935 CMR 500.002 in order to ensure compliance with General Law Chapter 94G, 5B2, and 935 CMR 500.1032 and 500.104B.
I have a question.
Commissioner Roy.
I'm hoping we can wordsmith the extra languages like a group, it's not always pretty, but we've done it before. But Mr. Executive Director, are we to assume that upon completion of remand, that the change of ownership will be completed? Because that's what the remand is about, the change of ownership. So is one to assume that in order for you to give us the full information, you will wait for the complete change of ownership to be able to give us the full information we're seeking in the remand?
I want to make sure I'm following correctly and accurately. When you say upon completion of remand, not the vote today, but instead
No,
the evaluation inside.
Okay, yes, upon the completion of the evaluation, is it safe to conclude that you will wait for the change of ownership in order to have the full,
Sure.
your full information to provide us as commissioners?
And perhaps this might be the way to phrase it. And I'm thinking out loud, so bear with me, which is perhaps dangerous. It might be worth acknowledging that returning with a as necessary, a final license and or change of ownership. Because I think, again, to be honest, there's not, the due diligence review process does not dictate that a change of ownership would in fact return to the commission for a vote itself. That's going to be based on the circumstances of that particular application. There's always the opportunity that a licensee may withdraw an application through this process. And so obviously I wouldn't want to prohibit or hinder their ability to pursue licensure. So it might be adding a caveat that as is necessary or as may be necessary. Again, that might be that ability to, where appropriate, I hate to use the word merge, but kind of combine those two in a coordinated way. I think Commissioner Roy, to your point, so that the commission's presented a full set of facts at a simultaneous time, if it's necessary. Because if a change of ownership application is necessary for the commission's consideration, it too should appear in the same agenda, to your point, as the final license. But there might also be a circumstance that the change of ownership, any change of ownership, may not be accompanied by the final license. But obviously that would still provide you with the full set of facts in order to make a fulsome decision. Did I confuse matters more?
No, you're kind of just saying that you're not tying them together, but you're putting them together throughout the process. So I understand that it's pretty clear.
Thank you.
So kind of, if I can paraphrase what you just said, Mr. Executive Director, if there is the opportunity that both final license review and vote and the completion of due diligence on the ownership application happen to be available to come back at the same time, that you would do that.
That is correct.
I shared some draft motion. Is there any wordsmithing beyond the draft motion that we want to make sure we include?
I think we got it all, or are you asking Commissioner Stebbins if someone's going to send you something?
I'm going off the language I got so far. Let me see if
Oh,
I have any update to that.
Take your time.
Bear with me.
Yeah, take your time. I just didn't know what you were saying. Sorry.
Commissioner Concepcion, you want to add something in the interim? You're
Well,
praying or want to say
no,
something else?
I'm thinking, I know you can see me thinking, I'm thinking about our general counsel. I'm thinking about Christine right now, because I feel like I want to add like where my mind was when you were asking about if we wanted to have a conversation. And so what I'm envisioning is that we have this motion, we, do the remand, and I know that we'll have an opportunity in the interim to have those conversations. If you want to do one-on-ones or two, with you, I feel like that would give us more time. So I just wanted to explain that. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't say that out loud. I'm not like ignoring you, and I know that we need to have those really in-depth conversations with you throughout this process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just to be clear, it's not about me. It's about the commission and the commission's consideration and vote on this licensee. So I'm happy to provide the advice I can outside of the context of the public meeting. No offense taken. If you feel like you have what you need, again, it's not about me. It's about the commission and its ability to deliberate and vote on the matter.
Thank you, Christine.
But could I propose some language at the end, if everybody's okay with that? Upon completion of the remand evaluation, the commission if necessary, shall review in the same meeting both applications.
Any executive director?
Similarly, I guess, kind of building off of Commissioner Roy's language, then obviously the utility of doing this live is not lost on me. Upon completion of such a review and consideration, this is kind of the tail end of that motion that Commissioner Stebbins, you had read. So upon completion of such a review and consideration, the commission staff shall return to the commission with a recommendation relative to final license and or application for change of ownership and control as may be necessary or appropriate. And I guess I want to be respectful of the desire to have it at the same meeting, but I think that I don't want to assume that's implied, but I imply it in my intent here, and obviously the minutes would reflect that as well. So, and obviously I want to make sure I'm mindful of the myriad of lawyers you have at your disposal too, especially those folks that live this too. And I'm specifically seeking and looking to our chief of investigations and enforcement counsel and general counsel. So,
Sean, thank you. That was very clear. Stop while you're ahead.
I sell past yes pretty regularly. So
There you go.
That was awesome, Sean. Thank you.
I also appreciate that language. I appreciate the flexibility in that language. I have to share with my colleagues, I do convey a little bit of concern that we're taking somewhat of a unique approach, and that that tracks for different license renewals, different license applications, different license review are on separate tracks for certain reasons. But to the language that was just spelled out, if there is some flexibility in there, I'm okay with the motion as written. All right, I have a new draft in front of me, which I can share. Commissioners, move to remand the application for final license for Greenfield Greenery MC 283117 to the Commission's investigation enforcement staff for further evaluation and consideration relative to ownership and control as defined in 935 CMR 500.002. And in order to ensure compliance with General Law, Chapter 94G, 5B2, and 935 CMR .1032 and 500.104B, upon completion of such review and consideration, the Commission staff shall return to the Commission with a recommendation relative to final license and or application for change of ownership and control as may be necessary or appropriate. Do I have that? Anybody wish to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Concepcion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Roy. Any other further comments, thoughts, questions? Commissioner Concepcion.
I want to say thank you. I know, Kyle, we lean on you. We lean on you every month. And I know, I'm like, Kyle, I'm looking at, I'm giving ear hugs to you, Kyle, Rebecca, Yao, Christine. I know that this has been a intense, there's a lot of information here. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot that can and cannot be. Like, I appreciate you guys, and I know that you work so hard. So I just wanted to take a moment because, hats off. You guys are the bomb. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo that. Many thanks to all of you. Appreciate everything that you do. And this was a unique situation, and we're all very mindful of that. So thank you very much for everything.
I'll make my comment after I vote.
Okay. All right. Anything else besides air hugs? Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye. Commissioner
Roy.
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. The motion is adopted. 4 in favor, 0 opposed, obviously, with the chair recusing or abstaining from this vote. Commissioner Camargo, you wanted to say something to wrap this up?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to wait to the vote, but I just want to say thank you to echo my commissioners. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to the team. But thank you for everybody who's putting in work into this. This is, you all talk about the commission, before sort of building the truck while you're going to the fire. And I think as new cohort of commissioners and with the new chair, there's also a sense of that. So I think a lot of these things, I'm glad that we had this conversation in public, that we asked the questions that we asked, because at the end of the day, we're public servants and we have a duty to ask the questions, to ask the hard questions, to understand this process. And I know that we want to get people through the final licenses. Trust me, all these folks who are waiting right now for their final licenses are probably, exhausted as well. So I just want to say that and thank you for everything. And Commissioner Stebbins, thank you for stepping up to chair this process as well. So thank you.
I'm so lucky. Thank you for staff's indulgence and my colleagues. So the record show the motion again was approved 4 in favor. Chair O'Brien was off camera and did not participate in the discussion or vote. And I will welcome back the chair for the last item under final license